Look at you. Still standing, still breathing, still here. That's not luck. That's not good vibes. That's not some cute quote you repost and forget. That's a real-life shield, an invisible one, the kind nobody claps for, the kind nobody sees until somebody tries you, and suddenly they're the one bleeding out inside their own head, because that's what's been happening, right? They swing, they throw shade, they plot, they whisper your name like it tastes bitter, and somehow, every hit they launch at you boomerangs back and cracks them in the mouth. And they hate you for it. They hate you because you're the one person they can't reach. They can't get under your skin like they do with everybody else. They can't puppet string your emotions. They can't pull you into their messy little circus and make you dance for their entertainment. So they escalate. They get louder. They get nastier. They get sneakier. They switch masks. One day it's, I'm just concerned about you. And the next day it's, I heard something crazy about you. And the next day it's a silence with a knife behind it. And you feel it. You feel the pressure. You feel the eyes. You feel the energy. But the wild part, you don't break. You bend. You adapt. You keep moving. You keep leveling up in the dark where nobody's watching. And every time they try to hit you, life turns around and says, nah, not this one. You ever notice that? How the people who try to ruin you start falling apart for no obvious reason. One gets exposed. One loses their circle. One loses their mind. One starts spiraling, posting weird stuff, acting out, self-sabotaging in public like it's a live show. One starts waking up at 3 a.m. with that anxious, guilty stomach twist they can't explain. They call it karma. They call it coincidence. They call it bad timing. I call it the cost of touching the wrong person. Because you're not just protected, you're expensive. Not in money, in consequences. And you didn't even ask for it. You didn't sign up to be some myth. You didn't wake up and say, please, universe, give me a force field so jealous people can bounce off me. You just got tired. Tired of begging to be treated right. Tired of shrinking to keep other people comfortable. Tired of carrying guilt that wasn't yours. Tired of apologizing for having a spine. So something in you hardened, not into cruelty, into clarity. And clarity is a weapon. Because when you're clear, you stop giving them handles to grab. When you're clear, you stop explaining yourself to people who love misunderstanding you. When you're clear, you stop chasing closure from people who enjoy leaving you open. And that's when the shield shows up. Let me tell you how this works in real life. Not in fairy tales, not in manifestation fluff. In real life. You know those people who throw a punch and then play victim when you don't collapse? Yeah, those. They expect you to react. They need it. They feed on it. They want you angry so they can call you unstable. They want you sad so they can call you weak. They want you loud so they can call you crazy. They want you quiet so they can call you guilty. You can't win their game. So you stop playing. And that's when they start losing their minds. 'Cause now they have to sit with themselves. Now they have to face the emptiness they've been running from. Now they can't dump their toxicity into your lap and call it sharing. So they try a different tactic. They send other people, a mutual friend suddenly acting weird, a coworker randomly changing energy, a family member bringing up old stuff like they're reading from a script, a stranger online repeating the exact same phrases your enemy uses. It's coordinated, it's petty, it's desperate, and you feel the urge to defend yourself, right? To explain, to prove, to show receipts, to scream, that's not me. But here's the truth they don't want you to learn. Your shield doesn't activate when you fight. Your shield activates when you refuse. Refuse to beg. Refuse to chase. Refuse to perform pain for people who don't deserve front row seats. That's why it keeps boomeranging, because their attack needs your permission to land. It needs you to open the door, and you don't. You leave them knocking like idiots in the rain. Now listen, because this part matters. You might think your shield is some magical thing that just happens, like you're lucky, like you were chosen. No, your shield is built out of everything they did to you, every betrayal you swallowed and survived, every night you cried with your phone in your hand, hoping they'd finally care, every time you replayed a conversation and realized you were talking to a person wearing a mask, every time you blamed yourself for their disrespect, every time you stayed too long because you didn't want to be mean. All of that, that's armor. That's the metal. And you forged it by bleeding quietly. So when they attack you now, they're not attacking a soft version of you. They're attacking the version of you that already lived through the worst part. That's why it bounces back. Because what are they gonna do? Hurt you with the same tricks you already outgrew. Break you with the same manipulation you already learned to spot. Scare you with the same threats that used to keep you small. Please. They're throwing pebbles at a wall and calling it war. And what happens when someone keeps punching a wall? Their knuckles split, their bones crack, their ego shatters, and they still blame the wall for not being nice. That's them. And let's talk about the emotions you don't admit out loud. The ones you hide because you're trying to be the bigger person. You feel rage, real rage. The kind that makes your jaw tense when you remember how they did you. The kind that makes you replay every moment you stayed silent. The kind that makes you fantasize about saying one sentence that would end them. I know. And you're not wrong for feeling it. You're human, but you're smarter now. Because you've seen what happens when you get dragged down into their mud. Their experience down there. They grew up in it. They swim in it. They breathe it. You don't. So you don't wrestle. You watch. And while you watch, you notice patterns. You notice how their life is a loop. Same drama, different day, same enemies, different faces, same story. Everybody does me wrong, same lies. I'm just being honest, same excuse. I didn't mean it like that. Meanwhile, you're changing. You're quieter. Not because you're scared, because you're focused. You're sharper. Not because you're cold, because you're done wasting energy. You're selective. Not because you think you're better, because you finally understand. Access is a privilege, and people hate that. They hate that they can't reach you for free anymore. So they try to provoke you. They'll poke at your insecurities. They'll hint at your past. They'll bring up that one mistake you made years ago like it's breaking news. They'll act like they forgive you just to keep you in a guilt collar. And if you don't react, they'll get louder. Because silence makes them nervous. Silence forces them to hear themselves. And you know what they hear? They hear their own emptiness, their own jealousy, their own insecurity, their own fear that you're becoming everything they pretended to be. That's why the boomerang hits so hard, because the universe is petty like that. Life has a weird sense of humor. It loves letting people trip over the traps they set for somebody else. And you're the person life is protecting right now. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Because you've been through it and you didn't turn into them. That's rare. Most people get hurt and become a copy of the person who hurt them. They become bitter. They become cruel. They become manipulative for survival. But you got hurt and you got honest. You got hurt and you got disciplined. You got hurt and you started building. And that's why your shield is different. It's not just protection, it's reflection. Whatever they send, it reflects back and forces them to face their own ugliness. That's what destroys them, not you, their own stuff. And I need you to understand something before you make a mistake. Your shield does not mean you can relax. Don't get cocky. Protection isn't permission to be careless. A shield isn't an invitation to walk into fire for fun. Some of you have been surviving so long, you mistake protection for a sign you should keep tolerating nonsense. Like, oh, I'll be fine. The shield will handle it. No. The shield handles what you can't control, not what you keep choosing. If you keep letting snakes sit in your lap, eventually you'll get bit. Not because you deserved it, because you ignored the hiss. So here's the move. You don't fight them, you don't beg them, you don't explain. You upgrade your boundaries until their access disappears. You stop answering people who drain you. You stop entertaining conversations that go nowhere. You stop trying to correct lies told by people who enjoy lying. Because your life is not a courtroom. You don't need to win arguments to be right. You need peace. You need progress. You need results. Let them talk. Let them create fan fiction about you. Let them build a whole series. You're busy building a life they can't touch. And don't get it twisted. They're watching. Oh, they're watching. They watch your glow up like it's a horror movie. They watch your confidence and call it arrogance. They watch you heal and call it fake. They watch you stop chasing them and suddenly you're cold. They always have a label, because labels are how small people try to shrink big energy. And you don't correct them. You don't argue. You just keep rising until their words can't reach you. Because the higher you go, the quieter their noise gets. But there's another layer to this, a darker one. Sometimes the boomerang doesn't hit them immediately. Sometimes it takes time, and that's when you get tested. Because you'll look around and think, wait, why are they still smiling? Why are they still posting? Why are they still acting like they won? And you start doubting the shield. You start doubting yourself. You start thinking maybe you imagined it. No. Some consequences take time to cook. Some people don't fall in public. They fall in private. They fall in their relationships. They fall in their sleep. They fall in their peace. They fall in their mind. They can be laughing on camera and dying inside. They can be flexing online and panicking in real life. Because guilt is a slow poison, and the people who attack you for no reason, deep down, they know they're wrong. That's why they can't stop talking about you. You live in their head rent-free because your existence is evidence that they're not who they pretend to be. And that drives them insane. Now look, I'm going to say something that might sting. Your shield doesn't just block attacks. It blocks attachments. It blocks the wrong love. It blocks fake friends. It blocks low-level opportunities that would have trapped you. It blocks almost relationships. It blocks jobs that would have drained your soul. That's why some of your life has felt lonely. Because you're being separated, not punished, prepared. You're being protected from the version of life that would have kept you small. That's why people disappear when you start leveling up. That's why texts stop coming. That's why invitations dry up. That's why the room gets colder when you walk in with new energy, because the shield is also a filter. It's life saying, only the real ones can stay. And that's scary, because you're human. You want community, you want love, you want to be understood, but you're not here to be understood by everybody. You're here to become undeniable. And once you become undeniable, the right people find you. Not the loud ones, not the messy ones, the solid ones. Now there's a trap I need you to avoid. The trap is revenge. Because when you realize the boomerang is real, you'll start thinking, maybe I should throw something back on purpose. Don't. Not because you're weak, because you're dangerous. And dangerous people don't waste bullets. You don't need to curse anybody. You don't need to plot. You don't need to get even. Your life is the punishment. Your peace is the punishment. Your glow is the punishment. Your silence is the punishment. Because they wanted you reactive. They wanted you loud. They wanted you broken and publicly embarrassed. And instead, you're calm. That calm is disrespectful to their whole plan. That calm is like laughing at their effort. And that's why they keep swinging. But here's the part you don't say out loud. Sometimes you miss the old you, the softer one, the one who trusted easily, the one who loved without checking for knives. Yeah, you miss that version because it felt simpler. Even when it hurt, it felt familiar. But that version of you is gone. And honestly, good. Because the old you would have died trying to save people who enjoy drowning. The new you walks away. The new you doesn't argue with disrespect. The new you doesn't chase closure. The new you doesn't hand out your energy like free samples. The new you looks at a weird vibe and says, nope. And that nope is holy. That nope is protection. That nope is the shield. So the next time somebody tries you, pay attention, not to what they say, to what happens after. Watch the pattern. They come for you. Then their life starts glitching. Their friendships get weird. Their money gets funny. Their lies get exposed. Their mask slips. Their confidence turns into panic. And you didn't do anything. You just existed. You just kept your hands clean. You just refused to let their poison become your personality. That's power. Quiet power. And if you're listening to me right now with that tight chest feeling, that this is too real feeling, good. Because that means you've been carrying the weight of other people's nonsense like it was your responsibility. It's not. You are not the emotional trash can for broken people. You are not the punching bag for insecure people. You are not the strong one, so everybody can dump on you and call it love. You're protected for a reason, so act like it. Move like someone who knows they're guarded. Stop chasing people who keep testing you. Stop reopening doors life already closed. Stop calling it loyalty when it's actually self-betrayal. Because the shield isn't just around you, it's inside you. It's your standards. It's your discipline. It's your ability to walk away without a speech. It's your ability to smile and keep moving while they're behind you, throwing tantrums. And let me tell you something. The moment you fully accept that every hit boomerangs back on them, you stop being scared. Not because nothing can hurt you, but because you finally understand you're not alone in this. Life has your back, not in a soft way, in a ruthless way, in a touch them and see what happens way. So keep your energy tight, keep your circle smaller, keep your plans quiet, keep your boundaries sharp. Let them underestimate you. Let them call you lucky. Let them think you're just getting away with it. They don't understand. They're not fighting you. They're fighting what's on you. And every time they swing, they sign up for the return trip. And you're about to learn how to use that shield on purpose. Not to hurt people, but to move through life like you're untouchable. To walk into rooms without shrinking. To build without begging. To love without losing yourself. To speak without fearing backlash. Because once you realize the shield is real, you stop flinching. You stop apologizing for being protected. You stop dimming to make jealous people comfortable. And you start doing the one thing they can't stand. You start becoming the proof. The proof that pain can turn into power. The proof that betrayal can turn into wisdom. The proof that survival can turn into dominance. So the next time they line up another hit, another little scheme, another whisper campaign, you don't panic, you don't spiral, you don't explain. You just stand there with that calm face, that calm that makes them feel exposed, that calm that makes them feel small, that calm that says, without saying, go ahead, try, throw it. Let's see who it comes back to. And as you keep moving, as you keep stacking wins, as you keep refusing to be pulled into their chaos, you're gonna notice something even darker, even sweeter. The boomerang doesn't just return, it returns harder when you level up. So keep leveling, keep healing, keep building, keep your smile sharp. Because the more unbothered you get, the more their hits turn into self-destruction, and pretty soon you're going to realize the shield isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of what happens when you finally decide you're done being an easy target, and you start moving like the kind of person the world learns not to touch, the kind of person who... There you are. Exactly where I knew you'd be, hovering between the breath you haven't taken and the thought you're afraid to finish. Funny thing, the higher-ups, they weren't supposed to notice you yet, but someone up there, someone with clearance so thick it has its own shadow, connected 3 dots with your name on them, and now the poor bastard can't sleep. You know why? Because those 3 dots weren't supposed to form a pattern. They weren't supposed to form a shape. They weren't supposed to form a warning. But the moment they saw it, the moment your outline emerged from the static like a phantom stepping out of a fogged mirror, they realized something nauseating. You weren't a coincidence. You were a constellation, and constellations don't appear by accident. You stand there, calm, unreadable, almost bored, while their entire reality map glitches around you. They don't even know which version of you they're dealing with. The saint who forgives, the psychopath who remembers, the angel who observes, or the demon who punishes. And that's what keeps them awake. Not fear of what you did, but fear of the pieces they didn't even know were missing until you made the picture clear. Because here's the part that tastes like metal in their mouth. Those 3 dots. They thought they discovered them. But oh, sweetheart, you placed them, one on purpose, one on instinct, one by simply existing in a world not designed to hold you. And now a man who has ended careers with a signature is lying in bed at 3 a.m., heart pounding like a fist against a locked door, whispering, How did we miss this? Because everything about you breaks the rules of predictable organisms. People grow in straight lines. You evolve in spirals. People heal in stages. You mutate in catastrophes. People learn from pain. You weaponize it. You know what rattled him the most. Not your past, not your skills, not your silence. It was the trajectory. You weren't rising, you were escalating, and not in human increments, in event-level leaps. He realized that if 3 dots already formed a threat, then the 4th, the 5th, the 6th would form something else entirely. Something that doesn't fit in a report, something that doesn't fit in a file, something that doesn't fit in the human category. They tried to analyze you like a subject, but ended up staring at you like a phenomenon. And here's the deadly paradox of you. You're too calm for someone who's suffered. You're too precise for someone who's wounded. You're too aware for someone who was abandoned. You're too strategic for someone who was underestimated. You're a contradiction dressed in skin, a disaster with manners, a storm that apologizes, a prophecy pretending to be a person. What they saw wasn't dots. It was damage that evolved into design. The moment they connected those points, they discovered the blueprint of a threat no one trained for. Unpredictability wrapped in discipline, mercy fused with violence, light sharpened into a blade, darkness softened into patience. You are the kind of duality that drives analysts insane because there is no algorithm for someone who can be both salvation and destruction with the same decision. They realized you're not ascending, you're awakening. And awakenings don't stop halfway. Now they're pacing hallways they once owned, flinching at every update, monitoring every ripple in the data stream, because they finally grasped the truth. You are not in their system is in your way. And that is why sleep has abandoned them. Because once someone at the top realizes that the quiet one, the underestimated one, the one who slipped through every attempt to categorize and control, is actually the fulcrum on which everything tilts. They don't rest, they don't breathe, they don't blink, they wait. They wait for your next dot, because they know when you place it, intentionally or not, the picture will change again. The rules will change again. You will change again. And every part of them understands the one truth they never wanted to face. You're not something that can be stopped. You're something that can only be survived. So go on. Keep moving. Keep shifting. Keep evolving into whatever impossible shape terrifies the night. Let them stay awake. You were never meant to sleep. Oh, you want the part they refuse to write down. Good, because that's the part that's been scratching at the inside of their skull since the moment your pattern revealed itself. See, when someone high up connects 3 dots, they expect one of 2 things: a threat or a mistake. But with you, they saw neither. They saw intention wrapped in coincidence, cloaked in innocence, powered by something ancient and sharp enough to cut through their perception like glass. They saw a trajectory that doesn't rise. It unravels. A person who doesn't grow. They shed. A soul that doesn't bend. It breaks the world around it until the world learns to bend first. And that's the moment the insomnia began. Because you're not ascending in a straight line like the others they've monitored. No, you're moving like something that remembers being hunted in another life. Something that learned to survive by reading the air, the tremors, the lies, the trembles behind voices. Something that learned to evolve in the dark where their cameras don't reach. That man, that high-ranking observer, that quiet architect of consequences. He replayed the dots again and again, trying to find the version of you that would fit in a category. A rebel. No rebels want attention. A genius. Close. But geniuses need witnesses. A prodigy. No prodigies need validation. You don't need acknowledgement. You need accuracy, and accuracy is the enemy of systems built on illusion. He realized the 3 dots weren't moments of your luck. They were fractures in his understanding. Your silence wasn't ignorance. It was surveillance. Your detachment wasn't weakness. It was calibration. Your calm wasn't peace. It was the steady pulse of someone who has already outgrown the room they're standing in. He saw it in the data, in the timestamps, in the reactions of people far below him. You move like someone who has seen the end of something and come back with the blueprint of how to avoid it. And that scares him more than violence ever could, because violence is simple, predictable, documentable. But evolution? True, unhinged evolution that twists itself around trauma and emerges as something neither holy nor hell-bound. That is unmanageable. He realized you're not just dangerous, you're inevitable. You're the kind of person who learns from pain so efficiently that every wound becomes architecture, every betrayal becomes infrastructure, every loss becomes propulsion. Every scar on your soul is a coordinate, a dot. And when they connect them all, they won't see a timeline. They'll see a map of how you became something that doesn't flinch, something that doesn't beg, something that doesn't fold, something that refuses the normal human trajectory and instead mutates into a paradox, an angel raised in fire, a demon refined by kindness, a saint with blood on their hands, a monster with mercy in their heart. You are impossible in every direction, and nightmares begin with impossibility. So while he lies awake at night, sheets twisted, breathing shallow, eyes darting toward the door like he expects your shadow to slide under it, you remain unbothered, not because you feel safe, but because you are dangerous, because the moment someone realizes your chaos is deliberate, your unpredictability is strategic, and your patience is actually restraint. They lose control of the narrative. Let me tell you the truth he won't admit out loud. You're not unpredictable because you lack a pattern. You're unpredictable because your pattern exists in a dimension he doesn't have access to. And that drives him insane. He stays awake because you represent the one variable that ruins his entire worldview. A person who was supposed to break but sharpened instead. A person who was supposed to disappear but multiplied instead. A person who was supposed to fade but became a myth whispered in meeting rooms instead. Do you understand what that means? You didn't scare him. You corrected him. You shattered the illusion that they run the world, that they control the narrative, that they can predict the future. Because the future isn't in their graphs. It's in the spine of someone who survived everything, designed to erase them. They finally connected 3 dots. But you haven't even begun forming the picture. There are dots they haven't discovered yet. Dots buried in your silence, your resilience, your unspoken rage, your quiet genius, your unexplainable intuition, your ability to walk away without losing anything except the people who misread you. Those dots will surface when you decide. Not before, not after. And when they do, their insomnia will evolve into terror. Because they'll realize those first 3 dots weren't the beginning of your story. They were the warning label. You feel it too, don't you? That strange electric quiet inside your ribs. The kind that only appears when the world finally starts noticing what you were forced to become. Because here's the part that's driving that high-ranking insomniac mad. 3 dots were enough to expose the outline of you. But he knows, with a dread that tastes like metal on his tongue, that there are hundreds more. He saw a glimpse of the creature behind your calm. A glimpse, and it already ruined his ability to sleep. Imagine what happens when he sees the whole silhouette. He keeps replaying your timeline, zooming in, zooming out, scanning for the moment you should have broken. But he can't find it. You broke their expectations. You broke their projections. You broke their categories. But you never broke, and that terrifies him more than any threat could. Because a person who should have collapsed, but didn't, is dangerous. But a person who should have collapsed, and instead learned to operate with surgical precision in the ruins of their own life, that's not dangerous. That's destiny wearing a human mask. He can't sleep because you shattered the laws he trusts. Pain didn't weaken you. Isolation didn't shrink you. Betrayal didn't sour you. Every force that should have made you smaller made you, for lack of a better term, mythic. And myths don't obey protocols. He knows now. You're not rising like everyone else. You're compounding. You're not improving. You're mutating. You're not progressing. You're accelerating in ways his models can't track. That alone was enough to keep him up. But then came the real insomnia trigger. He realized those first 3 dots weren't just connected to each other. They were connected to everything else. A shift in your behavior ripples through rooms you've never entered. Your silence changes the temperature of conversations you aren't part of. Your growth destabilizes hierarchies you've never acknowledged. Your existence forces recalibrations in people who pretend not to know you. And the moment he saw that, the moment he realized you're not part of the ecosystem, you're the variable that rewrites the ecosystem, his stomach dropped. Because some people influence their environment, but you bend reality's probability curve just by existing in it. He saw correlations in the data he can't explain. People who doubted you falling apart out of nowhere. People who supported you rising with strange momentum. People who underestimated you tripping over their own schemes. You became a gravitational force. A silent event. A psychological black hole where outcomes spiral toward inevitability. You ever wonder why people react so intensely to you? It's because you don't move through the world. The world moves around you. You don't chase opportunities. Opportunities contort themselves to reach you. You don't ask for clarity. Revelations bleed through the cracks on their own. You don't demand loyalty. The truth simply exposes traitors before you lift a finger and sleep. Sleep avoids anyone who realizes they are dealing with someone who no longer operates on human timelines. You evolve too quickly. You adapt too cleanly. You think too sharply. He doesn't fear who you are today. He fears who you'll be next Tuesday. Because every time you're knocked down, you come back with a new module. As if your suffering updates you. He connected 3 dots, but he sensed a 4th, hidden under your calm, a 5th, buried in your restraint, a 6th, humming behind your eyes. He knows the truth now. You're not becoming something powerful. You're becoming something unclassifiable. A living paradox, too gentle to be a villain, too calculating to be a hero, too wounded to be naive, too awake to be controlled, a saint sharpened into a weapon, a demon softened into wisdom, an angel that learned to survive hell, a monster that refuses to lose its heart. You're not one thing. You're everything they fear, wrapped into one unstable equation. And he can't sleep because he realizes you don't even know your full capabilities yet. The dots he connected, those were from your previous versions. He's losing sleep over your past. God help him when he meets your future. Because once the rest of the dots surface, once the entire constellation becomes visible, once your evolution becomes undeniable, he'll understand the one truth he was never trained to face. There is no defense against someone who was forged by pain, guided by intuition, fueled by silence, and awakened by their own destruction. You are not a threat. You are a transition point in reality. And transitions don't ask permission. Let him stay awake. Let him obsess. Let him tremble at the next dot he discovers. Because you're just getting started. You can almost hear it, can't you? That quiet, nervous hum in the atmosphere. Like the world itself is holding its breath around you. Because that man, that high-ranking observer, that gatekeeper of gatekeepers, he didn't just connect 3 dots about you. No, he woke something up inside himself the moment he tried to understand you. And now he can't turn it off. He saw a pattern that shouldn't exist, a path that shouldn't be possible. A person whose evolution shouldn't be that fast, that exact, that instinctive. And what does a system fear more than anything? Something it can't anticipate. You are the blind spot all their training warned them about. You are the anomaly their protocols were never designed to contain. You are the moment in the equation that turns the answer from predictable into intelligent danger. And that's why he's awake, pacing, sweating, rechecking, questioning his own sanity. Because he knows this now. Every pain you endured became a signal. Every betrayal you swallowed became a coordinate. Every time you were underestimated, a pattern adjusted itself around you. But here's the part that scares him in a way he'll never admit. Those 3 dots weren't connected by logic. They were connected by instinct, his instinct. Something primal in him recognized something primal in you. He realized you don't survive life, you harvest it. You take the worst parts of your experience and forge them into a type of intelligence that cannot be taught, replicated, or neutralized. You are the sum of every scar they didn't see. The result of every night you stayed awake while the rest of the world slept peacefully in their delusions. He's losing sleep because he realized a terrifying truth. You've been awake longer than him. Awake in the mental sense. Awake in the psychic sense. Awake in the way people become when they've had to grow eyes on the inside of their soul just to survive. You read patterns he missed. You heard lies he believed. You saw shifts he dismissed as coincidences. He finally saw the thread weaving through your life. But you've been weaving it. He imagined he was studying you, but you were the one watching him study you, tracking how long it would take before someone at his level finally realized you don't play the game. You rewrite the conditions of the board, and that is what keeps him awake, because he knows this contradiction about you is fatal. You move like someone who doesn't care about power, yet everything you touch bends toward your narrative. You walk like someone who has nothing to prove, yet people adjust themselves subconsciously when you enter a room. You speak softly, but your silence cuts louder than their threats. You forgive freely, but your absence devastates. You show mercy, but only after you've already measured the battlefield. You're not predictable, you're not chaotic, you're precise unpredictability, a weaponized phenomenon. He keeps replaying those dots, knowing something else now. If 3 dots already broke his sleep, what happens when you connect the 4th one yourself? Because he can feel it, that shift in the air around you. You're on the edge of another transformation, a version of you that doesn't ask, doesn't hesitate, doesn't apologize. And he fears that version most of all, not because it will be violent, not because it will be ruthless, but because it will be complete. Because the moment you stop questioning your power, you become the kind of entity people build doctrines around, or warnings. He saw glimpses in you. The saint who doesn't break, the psychopath who doesn't lash out, the angel who doesn't flee, the demon who doesn't devour. But he didn't see them as contradictions. He saw them as modules, parts of you that activate depending on the threat, like your soul has a built-in command system. He realized that your mind isn't fractured. It's layered, structured, adaptive, lethal in its accuracy. Where others crumble under pressure, you crystallize. Where others lose themselves, you recover parts of yourself they never knew existed. Where others get smaller, you evolve into a new geometric shape that terrifies anyone who tries to map it. That's why he's awake. Because how do you fight someone who changes form every time you think you understand them? How do you contain someone who slips out of categories like water slipping through fingers? How do you predict someone whose pain turned them into a mathematician of human behavior? He's awake because he finally knows what you are. Not a threat, not a weapon, not a problem. You are a shift, a paradigm-breaking force disguised as a person, a quiet apocalypse, a beautiful disaster, a myth developing in real time, a constellation that only reveals its full shape when the world is dark enough. He connected 3 dots. He unlocked the outline. But the stars inside you, they're still multiplying. And he knows, with dread, awe, respect, and a fear that tightens his throat, that he hasn't even seen your sky yet. So let him stay awake. Let him track you. Let him tremble. Because the moment you decide to place your next dot, the whole system will have to redraw itself around you.